Welcome everyone to my chess stream here on Twitch and lichess. International Master William Paschall. We are playing from Budapest, Hungary. We're going to be playing blitz and classical chess here, 5 to 8 minutes, taking challenges from you guys, the viewers, and playing with commentary. We've got ask for increment between like 3 and 5 seconds, depending on how long the game is. The longer challenges, 7 or 8 minutes, you can make the increment 3 seconds. And if in case of shorter challenges, like 5 or 6 minutes, you can use a longer increment if you like, up to 5 seconds. We have 3 challenges already. Blue Crow is challenging us to 5-3. Constant Change challenging us to 8-3. And Mate in 4-7. Mate in 47 is challenging us 7-3. All those are good. And we're going to get started in a second here. In the Twitch chat, I just saw hello all from Mate at 47. Good luck, everybody. I see no reason to get started. It's 10 o'clock. Stream is working. Let me know if there's any problems. It looks okay for now. And we're going to get started. Might as well, without further ado, start the party here. So forgive me if I if I cough or something like that. I still have a little bit of a lingering tendency to do that. So I was sick a few weeks ago, but I'm good. Blue Crow is white, and I haven't played him in a while. We have a perfect score, but he's not a bad player, over 2,000. And I do ask you guys challenge me to unrated, because first of all, I'm obviously giving opponents a chance to know what I'm thinking, but besides that, I just like to have the time to commentate. So rather than playing rated games, we ask for the increment and keep it unrated. Okay, Blue Crow, e4. Let's play e5. Last time I didn't play, last stream, I don't think I played, not sure I played a single game with e4, e5. Historically, I'm a Sicilian defense player, but I am trying to branch out. Actually, I have been trying to branch out now for like 15 years, but it's very slow going. I mean, I play e5 and blitz sometimes, but it's not really first nature. Can you say first nature? Second, everybody says second nature, but can you say first nature? Does that seem logical? So I'm playing the Petrov defense. It's not the most aggressive, but I like it. It's interesting. It leads to some interesting positions. Sometimes there are certain lines that are very drawish, and that's a problem. If you do play the Petrov's defense, a Russian defense, I think you have to keep in mind that it's difficult to play for a win if white doesn't want to take any kind of risks. So there's a certain drawback to say playing the Petrov against a lower rated player. Not easy to play for a win with black. Blue Crow saw something recently. Knight c4. Well, I don't pretend to know too much about this move. I've seen it before. It's a kind of rare guest. And it just, as far as I know, it's just a move. It's not good, not bad. It's leading to original situations, I guess. I don't recall any analysis on this. I guess I have to take the pawn. There doesn't seem to be any question here. The knight on c4, I mean, it is vulnerable to being attacked by d5, but it has a fallback square on e3. I don't remember any particular assessment about this, just that it's like a line that one can play. Not special. Not terrifyingly dangerous for black, but not bad for white either. So d4 now. Well, in the event of d5, and then white goes back to e5, what do we get there? We have some kind of like exchange French or something? Feels like some sort of exchange French. We could just leave the knight on c4. I mean, there's a certain argument for that, I guess. Where's my bishop going to go? You know, it's going to get hit by like knight e3 if I put it on f5 or g4 later on. So if I do some... Anyway, I don't have too much time. I mean, this is Blitz. Thank you for hosting me, just Seattle. Anyway, if I had more time, I mean, I like the luxurious time controls of 7 or 8 minutes because I can really, really spend a lot of time in the opening, but I was debating whether it's better to leave the knight on this funny square, you know, and play something quiet like bishop e7. On the other hand, e7 is a pretty modest square. It's hard for black to get an active game putting the bishop on e7. So d5 looks like, well, the obvious choice. But it does drive the knight potentially back into the center. And now he has to decide whether he wants to go back to e5 or back to e3. I'll set it for longer next time if you want. Yeah, Plukro, it's up to you. I mean, whatever you prefer. Some people just don't like playing long games, so I like to leave the option up to the players here. Alright, so e3. This gets us into some independent territory. He's putting some pressure on d5. That's going to be... I think that's going to be an important concept. I'm not allowed... I'm not really able to play bishop d6 here. So you want to risk bishop d6, knight takes d5, bishop takes h2. Right. This is a bit of a problem. It's going to be hard to maintain that pawn on d5. So, well, here we go again. The active deployment of the bishop on e7. His knight, you can argue, gets a little bit in the way on e3. I think. Bishop takes e4. Doesn't seem like an issue, does it? I don't think this is necessarily good for white to take that. Okay, the problem with the Petrov, it's symmetrical in many variations like this, so it does lend itself to being kind of drawish. Certainly not the most dynamic position. Constant change. How the knight went over there. Yeah, he went to c4. It's a fairly non-standard variation, but it's not bad for white. It's probably equal. I mean, there might be some traps that white can set for black in that unusual position with knight c4. I mean, I've seen it in the books. I don't think it's played by very many strong players. Looks like something a creative player like Morozevich would try. He likes to play weird stuff. Morozevich, though, likes well, he used to like to play like bishop d3. Knight f3, knight takes e4, and bishop d3. That's... Whoops. That's his favorite line. Everybody has their pet lines. Alright, so we got 2 minutes left here. I mean, c5 would be a really aggressive way of playing this type of position. Go for the isolated queen pawn. But it's... I'm not sure this is the right situation for that. On the other hand, what should I do here? c5, d takes c5, bishop takes c5. Looks pretty active for black. He could also play something sharper. c5, c4. It's kind of interesting. Anyway, c5 is kind of risky. Let's keep it. Keep it simple. What am I going to do, though? Alright. Keep a solid structure. I don't know. I think this knight is going to have to retreat at some point. Very soon. c5 was an active move, but we're really low on time, and I just don't think it's good to complicate the position when you have more time. But I don't think that it's a good idea here with a minute and 19 against a minute and 43 to... He's not taking my advice about not complicating the position. Alright. Well, whatever. It's a Stonewall Dutch. This is a really risky move by me. but I do have justification. Got a lot of weaknesses here. I definitely need the protection on the dark squares. My dark squares are very weak. Don't want to give up my bishop. My good bishop under any circumstances, this piece. Never want to trade that. I need that piece. Okay, not too much happening at the moment. This is a pretty awful piece. It's bishop on c8. But maybe I have an idea. No, f4 knight d2. Well, he's going for queenside play. Excuse me. So stopping me from going in there. Yeah, I don't want my bishop getting hit by knight g4. That's why I made that move, in case you're wondering. And now we've got some issues. I don't know what to do. Got to do something here. Activate our rook from its original square. Okay, this degenerated into a absolute blitz game. Maybe I had a better move there. Bishop d7. At least it like connects my rooks. Alright, double attack. Not for long. Alright, this is attacked, this is attacked. He did break up his pawns. My king is quite open. If things open up, I have to be very careful. This on d7. That's definitely a problem. I'm not particularly attached to this bishop on d7. If he has to leave, that's okay. So be it. Probably best not to take that pawn on b4. Looks a little dangerous. Coming after me. Can I try to win this? I can try to lose. That was a really stupid move by me. Fukuro, I didn't know you were such an endgame expert. Now I know where all the strength lies in his endgame technique. I don't think we ever had a technical ending with Fukuro, but he played this really well. I just dropped that pawn though. That was unnecessary. Looks like we might be okay though. The endgame expert. Maybe this was a mistake by me. Probably. I don't think I can win. Alright. I don't know if I was winning at some point there, but... Okay, first game of the day, we'll let it slide. It wasn't the greatest quality toward the end. What's up, guys? I totally missed all the chat here, so good morning. Any plans of going to the Tata Steel Chest? Made 47, no, I wish. I would like to. I was talking to Ruin about that, and our moderator here. He's also from the Netherlands. Whoops. So I would love to, but I've been traveling a lot, so I'm gonna get to this game in a second. But I just wanted to update the chat here. Yeah, the Tata Steel tournament. No, I mean I'd love to go, but I've been traveling a lot in the past month or two, so not this time. All right, constant change. I'm gonna play the Caro Kann. Well, congratulations, Fukuro, on correcting your perfect score. I know that's big of me to say, but well played game, I guess, for the time control. But at the end, it got pretty bad. I mean, I dropped the pawn. It was just a draw. My king is active. It can stay on f5. I just let white take off my pawn on g4. It was catastrophic. At that point, it may be losing for black. Obviously, white has to have good technique, but here we had the same move order yesterday, and white's like thinking about maybe delayed h4 or no h4 at all. I mean, I had one guy playing knight h4 last stream. I don't think that's worth it, you know, for white. I've talked about this specifically this Caro-Kann Scandinavian pawn structure, it seems quite difficult to use the bishop pair effectively. But I guess we'll transpose to the main line here. Occasionally you see players play like knight f6. Let's try that. Something original. Take white out of his memorized comfort zone. The Gladys Troll is the record breaker in terms of score. Obviously, I won't be castling kingside. That's the drawback to this setup. And here we have the interesting possibility of playing like queen a6. I mean, I suppose one could argue that queen d5 is interesting as well. But then queen e2. So this is debatable, though. I mean, queen c7 is clearly more usual. I mean, white could try maybe b3 and c4 here to play against my queen on a6. But what he did is more natural. Okay. Well, king takes, forfeiting the castling, the option to castle. Probably what I would do. White has a bit more space, black with a very solid position. We're not getting very aggressive. Not getting very aggressive setups with the Petrov and the Caro-Kann here. This looks pretty good for white. This is an excellent move, bishop f4. Obviously, my rook on h7 has to come back. I don't know. I feel like I made this a comfortable endgame for white. So probably this plan of bishop h7 and queen a5, queen a6. All I managed to do is give white like a nice, comfortable little endgame advantage. Rook d1. Theoretically, I could play c5 at some point to try to break free a little bit. I'm not really sure that's a safe thing to do. Another interesting idea is like knight g4, controlling e5, but alright, I don't know what else to do here. I've got to challenge this bishop on f4. It's too strong, good bishop or bad bishop, I don't care what you want to call it, but it's totally cutting my position in half. Gave him a little bit of space, but I'm not sure how meaningful it really is with all these pieces being exchanged. He's tied down to h5, which is good. Now, I feel like he's overextending himself. I mean, that's a lot of pawn moves, but there's no pieces to like start any kind of like real attack, so just in a sense it feels like white's overreaching themselves a little bit. We can maybe play e5. Welcome everyone to my chess stream. Dr. Checkmate, how are you? Happy New Year. The dark square bishop looking menacing. He likes my exchange plan. Yeah, you got to keep an open mind. Uh-oh, knight e5 here. I don't have to take, but he could menace me further. Yeah. This is slightly unpleasant. Now, where do we go? Do we go to G4? Or do we go to D7? Some other venue. The G4, F4, and then King F3 is coming. I'll have to play F5, but maybe that's trapping my knight forever. Actually, knight G4, F4, if King F3, I have knight H2 check. Doesn't really help, though. I'd rather stay in the center. Maybe I'm going to need to play F6 to free myself here. I don't really like the other options too much. I thought about C5, but it looks a little slow. This pawn is just too strong. It's giving him, like, this pawn on E5 is too strong. I gotta get rid of it. So, another tough game for me. I feel like black should be able to hold on here. Not a pleasant ending for black. White's a little overextended with those moves. I don't think he had to do that. I mean, B4 and A4, it's not that useful. Those pawns could actually be weak. Well, I mean, the pawns could be attacked by various things. I mean, I might play A5 or C5 or knight B6. Not just a rook invasion on the 5th rank is the only way they can come under siege. But this has got to go. Prophylactic thinking, that's becoming my specialty. I've learned a lot about myself by doing the stream, and people are often asking me, what's my style, what are my strengths. I'm learning about myself by playing games and commentating and watching myself. It seems I have, well, I'm very aware of danger, so I tend to have a lot of draws in my tournament games. Here we have a problem. I mean, knight takes. Now, the nice thing about knight takes is that it keeps him tied down to h5, but it will leave me with a backward pawn here on the file. It's kind of a tough call. Pawn takes, I was seriously considering. Then he has knight e4. Then rook g8. I guess we'll take with the knight. This looks a little safer. I mean, my pawns are weak too. So, but anyway, knight takes. I didn't like knight e4 all that much. With the threat of knight d6, if rook g8, king f3. He also has knight c5. No, he doesn't. But anyway, I don't know. That's a little riskier. I have a static weakness here at the moment, but how is he to exploit it? I mean, these pawns could be weak even in a king and pawn endgame. I could see, if this was a king and pawn endgame, I'd play like c5, white might be lost. I mean, if you took all the pieces off the board, black to move, c5, and I don't know if white has a move in that position. I mean, it may just be resignable. c5, b5, king b6. Yeah, it's probably lost for white. So he's got to watch his pawns on the queen side. Now e5. Not sure if e5 works. a5 is interesting. The problem with e5, I didn't really like rook takes rook, followed by rook d1. But here we have some possibilities now. I think king b6. Penetrating with my king to a very powerful square. Constant Change has played very good in games against me as well. I was joking about Blue Crow, but going back, thinking about it, there were one or two games where Constant Change played exceedingly well in an endgame, which I didn't really expect. I mean, he's playing very fast in general, so you expect him to be kind of like tactical. But a lot of top bullet players will say that, like, the most important skills for bullet players are basically tactics and endgame technique. Okay, so knight e4 check. Well, there's the adventurous king b4. That looks a little bit over the top right away, so I think we are going to think about that at some point. But, well, here, this is going to get really sharp. Rook takes rook, king takes pawn. Rook to the 7th, takes on b5. Well, cuts off my king. Whoa. Okay, this looks like a draw. Guess I've got to move my rook, huh? Is there any benefit in checking? Probably Absolutely not. Free my king. Should I check him? Doesn't really matter, I guess. Having a tough day here today. Two not great openings for black. Getting kind of passive positions with black. Caro-Kann now with a weird line I played. And the other one was Petrov. So my natural aggressive style is probably more optimal. I think this is a draw. Everybody knows that. I could obviously play rook b1, but there was this pawn, right? If I play this though, he plays rook b6, so I should play rook b1 now, free my rook, king, whatever you call it. Free my rook. Freedom. The constant change with a good technique in the ending. Very good technique in the endgame. The way he cut off my king there. There were slightly more aggressive tries, you know, but he kept a draw, a minimum in hand. Alright, 2 draws, guys. This is pretty exciting stuff. Good for you. Mate in 47. I finally get white, which is nice. Welcome, guys. Don't forget to check out my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. Starting this week, I'm going to be creating independent content every week for the channel. Whether it is like opening analysis, a review of like simul games or blitz games I do here, other stuff. Stay tuned for that. Subscribe and like on my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. Other announcements, I do a simul on lichess every week on Sunday when it's not a holiday like this past 2 weeks. So the next one will be January 8th. That is Sunday, January 8th at 6:30 p.m. Central European time. So mate in 47, we have 2 draws. Wow, these were in simuls that I'm aforementioned simuls. 40-40. Yeah, 40-40 is the typical time control. Alright, so what's up, guys? Master HM draw. I really wish lichess had a better method for creating a queue of challenges. Well, it's been vastly improved. Before, like, when you would get disconnected, you would just constantly, like, be changing positions, and it's been improved, so we're very happy about that. Sorry for coughing in the mic, guys. Cold air. You know, it's supposed to be like -18 this week or something. Here in sunny Budapest. I read that somewhere, like the temperature would go down to -18. Is that even possible? Alright, so mate at 47. The other day we had somebody try to play the reverse Grunfeld, but I mean, this is really transposing to the Catalan. I mean, this is the only really solid way for black to play in the reverse Grunfeld. There aren't a lot of options, so we transpose directly into Catalan territory, like some kind of E6 quiet Catalan. Sometimes the game will transpose to the Tarrasch, which I don't mind, because I played a million games with white in the Tarrasch. What are you going to do about turning the stone in the sun? Yeah, you talked about that. Alright, never mind, guys. Anyway, welcome everyone to my stream. We're streaming normally Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. And it's obviously Central European time. Sometimes in the summer I am in a different location. I do go to the US. So there have been streams at different times, but most of the time I'm here. So he plays bishop e7. Alright. Deep breath. Now, this creates some independent possibilities. I could take on c5, calling the question. We can also take on d5. We could take twice. If I take on d5, does black take back with a knight or with a pawn here? What's his plan? I don't see anything wrong with this. I mean, having spent a tempo on bishop e7, I think I'm justified taking now on c5. Whatever will be, will be. Unfortunately, my strong point is not Catalan theory. So occasionally I venture into Catalan territory. I don't really know variations very deeply, but intuitively played a lot of fianchetto type positions in my life, so I have a pretty good feel. But I don't like bishop e7 there. I mean, I think he needs to like take on c4 or just well, what's his other option? He can take on c4. Occasionally you might see like bishop d7. Well, let's say he wants to transpose. Well, you can take on d4 and then play bishop e7. I feel like he should clarify the pawn tension first. I guess everything's possible here. Knight c3. Knight c3 d4 though. That doesn't seem right, does it? Knight c3 d4. My knight would be all kinds of messed up. Bishop g5 is interesting. Alright, this looks kind of funky. The negative 18-degree air. No, it's not that cold yet. Last night it felt like it was around freezing. So I decided to play bishop g5 here rather than knight c3 allowing d4, which would be very strange. I'm not really concerned about d takes c4, and he is in this pin. Hopefully we can discombobulate his pieces a little bit. Like if his queen pops out on f6, that's not exactly... I don't think that's exactly optimal for black. Okay, now knight c3, this is a different story now. If knight c3... There is one line that's bothering me a bit here. I didn't consider it before, but... Again, probably the Catalan wizard would see this type of idea. I'm going to go knight c3. Because now I have knight e4 in some lines. Not sure how great it is, actually. He also has d takes c4. Maybe it would be simpler just to take on d5. I wasn't sure about queen takes d5, honestly. But there I should be slightly better, like just knight c3 and a better ending for white. I probably shouldn't ask for too much here. I was looking at c takes d5, queen takes d5, bishop takes f6, queen takes d1, rook takes d1, which isn't that great. Slight advantage for white now. Okay, he's just dropping a pawn, which is always convenient with h6, so I mean, black had much more interesting possibilities. D4 or D takes C, Queen A4, Knight A5. I thought that was... I was actually looking at D takes C, Queen A4. Not saying that's the only move, but Knight A5, B4, D takes C, B takes C, threatening B4. But it looks like I'm sacking a pawn. I'm not sure I have enough compensation. Wow, Queen sacrifice, anybody? I mean, I'm sure I could sacrifice my queen here. I have a pawn, a rook, and a knight. But I think in the end it probably gives black a little bit too much play. So, well, we have lots of possibilities. Try developing a piece. Queen B3, the obvious move. Take, take. And then what? We could also develop a piece with rook C1. Knight E4, Queen E7. I don't see like a follow-up, oddly enough. All right. Forward to it, Folier. You don't watch streams while playing. Go to Twitch TV later. I do, you know, obviously all the streams are saved on Twitch for like a week or a month. I don't know how long now. And I do upload them to YouTube. So if you like want to see the game you played, you can always find it on my YouTube channel, or for a while here on Twitch it's saved. It seems like cheating listening to... Well, that's why I don't do a... That's why the games are unrated. But, I mean, if you want to play me straight up and you want to play without an advantage, yeah, don't listen to the stream. But if you want to just use it for instructional purposes, like, it might be helpful to listen to me. But I think if I was playing myself, if I was in your position, I probably wouldn't want to listen to it. I mean, I talked about this in the past. I used to play, like, blitz with Gingiashvili. I would sweat him, basically. Like, while he was playing, I would sit there and, like, watch and occasionally say, hey, Roman, you're hanging your queen. You know, everybody's done that with friends. You know, you've sat next to them while they're playing. But one thing you always got to be careful of, you know, it's not good to, like, have two people like playing, because it's the classic saying of you know, two cooks spoil the soup. There's this famous catchphrase, and it's, you know, competing ideas, it's not good. I mean, one person should play, so it's confusing to the brain when you have mixed signals. Like, you have your ideas and then you have someone else's ideas coming in, and that often causes confusion and chaos. So it's better not to have a second, you know, running commentary probably while you're trying to play the game. I mean, listen to the stream afterwards, I guess. Yeah, this is the line that I looked at originally. My evaluation was knight c7. White's got to be a little better because I'm up a pawn. Is there anything above and beyond that? Oh man, I'm down to 51 seconds. Seriously? Hard to make all my pieces work here. But we're up 4 against 3 on the king side. It should be some sort of advantage. I'm certain if I had had more time, I would have been able to find more. I doubt this is a good move, but it's an easy move to play. I have some tactical idea. Yeah, this was it. Basically to play b4. Try to distract him from the a7 pawn, or save my b pawn in the process, but I'm not certain it's that big a deal. Probably isn't. Looks like black's coming out of this. Doesn't really deserve it though. I thought it was highly dubious. h6. Took on b4 now. What's the big idea here? Well, I see. Bishop c5. That's not what I expected. Maybe a good move, though. Don't have a lot of squares to go to. I guess we're going home. Saved by tactics. It's 38 seconds apiece. 3-second increment is plenty. So now what? 95. Not sure this is the best move or not. Probably not. Yes. Man. That is unfortunate. Alright, mate 47. What you got? Ugh. He's pretty strong. 2049. He solved all his problems, got out of this. Man. I played like an absolute idiot. And he's played extremely well. I'm not going to play f4. The way I played this game was catastrophic. Just horrible. I made so many lazy moves. I should be up a pawn right now. Instead, I have nothing. $2,049. He already has 2 draws against me. This is going to be like 3 draws in a row. What's that about? Oh. Where does he come up with this stuff? Why? I guess I had to do that, huh? Can't trap my rook. No, I'm very lucky. Alright guys, not a great quality of games we've been playing here this morning, so let's take a second off. Let's take a second off here. Not really thrilled with the way I've been playing. Okay. Take 1 minute to just kind of reset. Obviously, there's no way I should win that position. He's better with the 2 bishops outside pawn. I'm just fighting for a draw. So let's take a break for a minute and just kind of check out the comments. Swing chop up. Yeah, it's obviously, I mean, it was slightly better for black once he wins my pawn on the queen side. I made a very bad move playing knight e5. So I think there was a lot of mistakes. Like if you look at that game with the lichess engine or whatever, Stockfish is gonna just have a field day with both of us making like billions of small mistakes in that game. Alright, guys, we have challenges. If you'd like to challenge me, something between 5 and 8 minutes with a small increment. Chess E64, PQ, 4-2 at Folier, Etatsuar, Ashlyn, and QK. All these challenges are fine. Everything's unrated. Alright, 2182. It wasn't a great game. The opening was interesting, though. You know, when I played Bishop G5, you had far more interesting variations. Also, like Queen B6, maybe trying to snag a pawn on B2. There were some interesting gambits that could go down in the opening. So there's a lot of paths there that were not played, you know, that could have been very interesting. I don't believe, like, the way you sacked a pawn was very good, but I did not find an incisive way to play against it. So, okay, what do we see here? D4, knight f6, knight f3. What do they normally want to play? Some kind of closed queen pawn game when you see knight f3 like this? Sometimes players who play against the King's Indian with G3 don't like to commit themselves to C4. So that's a couple of categories of players you see, you know, who delay like C4. Okay, he's playing the London system. I could play, I guess C5 is the most aggressive move here, but I haven't even fianchettoed my bishop yet. I guess Spinal Tap Chess is back to work or something. He's not here today. We had a couple games of Spinal Tap, which was cool. The last couple days. So he doesn't play C3 either. You know, it may be, speaking of Gingiashvili and sweating him during blitz games, he used to love to play like bishop f4 and c4 all the time. But that doesn't really matter. I mean, as long as I don't waste the tempo on d6. c5 is fine. Or I don't like d6 as much. We can castle or play c5. If you want to play d6, I don't really like it against bishop f4 if white hasn't committed to c3 yet, because he can play like c4. Anyway, this is not a lot of time, so I have two setups to play against the London system. One based on c5 and one based on like double fianchetto ready style. Here I can choose either one, I guess. Now after c3 I can play b6. It's also, I played a million games with queen b6. Bishop a6 or bishop b7 are both Excuse me. Both very playable. This trades pieces, maybe relieves the cramp in black's position. Andrew Martin recommended this in a very old book from the early 90s. Like, can't even remember the name of it. It's a King's Indian book. But, I mean, trading pieces with black in a London system, it's pretty... It does take white out of his normal stuff, though. Usually the London system players have a lot of this stuff just memorized. So there's just a kind of formula white plays by normally. The only games, I had a couple games that went like this. Both were draws, of course. Cheesy here. I called him cheesy last time. I mean, Chessy is like playing super, super safe in this position. It's not a whole lot you can do to play for a win. Is white ready to play e4 now? Yeah, does look that way. So I don't know what you want to do. Play d5. God, this is so insipid. But I guess anything's fine. d6 you can play. You don't have to play... I'm not that worried about e4 like blowing me away or something. His position just isn't... It just isn't that dangerous. He's playing the Slav. But it's so solid, there's nothing I can really do. See, he hasn't played h3. I mean, normally these London system guys always play h3. It's interesting that he's delayed that. Like, okay, if I play knight h5, he has bishop g5. 5 minutes. What's your deal? You play just bullet chess or something? Uh-huh. Bullet and classical with very little blitz. One or the other. Hard to really do anything here. It's equal. Obviously on the a2 pawn. But I had a lot of spatial problems. I mean, if I play like queen b7, e4, I think white just stands better there. So he has 5 minutes to my 30 seconds. It's just really hard to play against the London system and get an advantage. But I think here we have something. Some play on the queen side. I don't know why I'm playing like knight d7. The knight d5 is more active. Okay, c4 and b4. This is interesting. And now b4. It's giving me no time. But I've stressed many times I don't really, like to play games where the opponent doesn't use any time. I'm not trying to play bullet here, thing like that. Wow, this is a weird move. Essentially attacking my pawn chain from the front. But he's just playing quickly without any real plans. And I think black is significantly better now. All of his pawns are fixed on the dark squares. My e7's protected. I have a good outpost. His bishop isn't that functional. Looks like black's got something serious, probably. Then you have 3 minutes and 45 seconds to think about, like, you know, what your move will be in a worse position. It's better to get a good position and not, you know. What I'm trying to say is that it's not good to only think when you have a bad position. It's very important to take time when you have a good position to try to make it better. Play optimally. And this looks... This looks really clearly better for black. I'm not sure what to do. He's basically playing bullet chess in standard. Technically, it's blitz 5-3. I have no time. Okay, I mean, black's probably better here, but I don't have time to figure it out. Another draw. He can try knight b7 if he wants to, but it's just rook a7 is rep. The problem was I could never try to attack the c3 pawn because rook a3 will drop the pawn on b5. Though maybe that's the best. I don't see what I'm going to do, though. Rook a3, rook takes b5. Maybe I should just take... I guess I have to just take on a2 here, actually. Actually, I don't have time. Rook a1, when can I take this? I have to give up the e6 pawn. I guess rook e1, I have rook takes a2. I'm probably... Maybe I'm winning here, actually. After rook e1, rook takes a2. White is clearly worse, but I didn't have time. So 3 minutes. A little too much time disadvantage there. Very hard to get an advantage against the London system. But he was worse, so he took a draw. Alright, e4, c5. Too passive with black today. I should just... White should go... You mean black should go knight a4. White should go knight a4 hoping... Oh, God. Anyway, okay, knight f3. I've been playing this in the last couple streams, the Quinteros variation. Just to kind of take people out of their preparation. I think it's a really good move for like blitz and rapid chess. I wouldn't really recommend it for long games. I'm not sure it's that reliable. But if you want to get out of book on move 2, I should have just taken on a2 last game. PQLLED. He played 2 games with me. I don't recall these games. Okay, so c3 is one of the better moves white has against queen c7. But it just transposes to a form of c3 Sicilian. So we've got challenges. Fruiter, Folier, Atatsuar, Ashlyn, QK. 6-7 QK has got to change that challenge. Bulgarian. No, please change your challenge from 6-7 to something like 6-5, okay? Because the 7-second increment, it's like a little excessive. that can get kind of long. So the fourth challenge there, if you can change that to 6-5, it's too long, 6-7. I thought he moved way too fast. He should have slowed down and thought more. Yeah, I mean, that's my point, you know. Okay, he forced me to take a draw, in a sense, because I couldn't react fast enough. The other day I lost to Constant Change. He's the same type of player. He just moves instantly, trying to win on time every game. But I don't think you're learning that much from that. You know, are you learning from that? Are you really learning? Are you improving your game? I don't think so. You know, just reflexively playing the same moves over and over again. The only way you can improve in chess is to think, you know, is to think really critically, you know, and these guys are not doing that, you know, they're just trying to win on time. So it's a question whether you want to, like, gain online rating points or improve as a player. Chess is a thinking game. It's not meant to be played bullet, you know. All the top players in the world, like Hikaru Nakamura and Carlsen, are fantastic bullet players, but they're also incredibly great, like, slow chess players. And you've got to be able to, you know, do that. That's the most important thing. So priorities here. Bishop d3. It's some kind of Kopek Sicilian. Doesn't look really appropriate here. I guess it's okay. It defends the pawn on e4. He's kind of inviting me to play like c4. That obviously overextends my pawns. So I don't know what to do. I've never faced this move before. He's blocking his own d-pawn. Could certainly play like b6, bishop b7. Okay, this is totally new position. So yesterday I lost a game on time in a completely winning position. But yeah, I mean, I think you need to take time in good positions, not just positions. Don't just start thinking when you have a lost position. I mean, that's absolutely the wrong approach. Time is money, you know, and time is a valuable resource, but you need to use it constructively, not just like go to the grave with like 7 minutes on the clock. It's not a question of who has more time at the end of the game. So use your time optimally. I have a tendency here to use a little bit more time. In tournament games, I try not to be so. You know, I never historically was a time pressure addict. That's what I'm trying to say, but it looks like I am, because here on the stream I'm talking and really taking my time to try to, like, play the best moves and to be instructive. All right, I'm having trouble deciding on a plan of action here. This Kopek type of thing with bishop d3, bishop c2. It's difficult for black to decide, like, what's, you know, I have so many choices. What's my plan? All right, let's just make a natural move. Maybe I'll break in the center with d5. But it feels very strange to play d5. I mean, in a sense, it makes sense to destroy his central pawn, but on the other hand, it will open up his bishop on this diagonal. So I'm a little bit, you know, having trouble bringing myself to play d5, because this feels like a bad piece, you know, and I'm kind of making his bishop good if I play d5 and he trades that pawn off. Yeah, bishop c2 is the plan. So I talked about my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. Guys, if anybody wants to support the stream and my YouTube channel with a donation on PayPal, please, I much appreciate it. 2017. I'm no longer accepting GoFundMe donations. I have to take that off the Twitch. Not really a good platform for this. So I want to thank everybody who supported the stream and the channel in 2016. And if anybody can just donate even $5 or euros a year, it really would help the stream to continue for another year. So much appreciated. Another thing I should mention is that I do make my living by teaching private lessons. So if anyone is interested, I have very reasonable rates. If you're interested in seriously taking private lessons, send me an email, videochesstrainer@gmail.com. The info is on my Twitch account. The coach's account and Twitch account here. My lichess account, I mean, and the Twitch account. So if you guys want any information, feel free to email me at my dedicated chess email, videochesstrainer@gmail.com. Okay, enough of the spiel. We've got to react. d4 is a sort of threat, but we do have some play along the c file with the queen on c7. So I think that I'm not that concerned about d4 just yet. b6 is interesting. Yeah, I kind of like this. Anyway, it's a standard way of solving the problem of my bishop on c8. Obviously, my king is in the center. Oh, yeah, a lot of computers, by the way, like, very popular concept in these kind of positions I see sometimes is like g5. The computer, this idea exists in the knight f6 variation of the c3 Sicilian. Maybe g5, idea g4, or idea like knight takes g5, rook g8, because the g2 pawn is unprotected. So if you want to play something really weird and crazy, I mean, g5 might be a viable option. I like to think on move 1. Actually, Gladys Troll, I learned that technique from Alexander Ivanov, one of my greatest heroes and one of my greatest rivals in chess. I've played Ivanov like 15 tournament games, probably, or more. He'll tend to like sit there on move 1, head in hands for like 5 minutes sometimes. You got to get your mind set, you know? I mean, it seems absurd to some people, but I think that it's very important to achieve a deep level of concentration. Okay, so if you see a grandmaster or anybody sitting there on move 1 thinking for 5 minutes, there are only really 2 things they can be thinking about. You know what I mean? First of all, they're trying to recall like some kind of games maybe, or opening variations they played against specific opponent. Like, I'm playing Mr. X, you know, and I sit there on the first move thinking for 5 minutes about my previous games with Mr. X, you know. And the second possibility, which is most likely, is that they're just sitting there trying to achieve a level of concentration, you know. And I'll do that sometimes. In the fast time controls nowadays, where it's like 90 minutes for 40 moves, 5 minutes is not a sacrifice you can afford to make. In the old days, with like 40 moves in 2 hours, 5 minutes was really, I would walk around, you know, a lot, and there's a lot of extra time, but with 90 minutes, it's not really realistic to waste 5 minutes of your time. So maybe a minute or 2, I'll sit there on move 1 sometimes and just try to close my eyes and reach like a kind of level of Zen meditation or something. I mean, concentration is huge, so not all people, it's very hard to get into a really deep level of concentration. Let me try to tell you guys, like, the deepest concentration I ever reached, you know, sometimes during my best games, if you actually reach the point where you tune out everything around you, you know, and you forget where you are. I've played games with like a huge audience of people watching the game, and I was totally unaware that there were like 20 people crowded around the board watching like a time scramble or something like that. So if you reach that point of concentration where you're not even aware there's a crowd of 20 people within, like, you know, 5 meters of you, that's a sign that you're in a very, very deep state of concentration. And it's hard for me to achieve that. I mean, I'm assuming that's the case with most people. But if you could achieve that level of concentration, you're going to be an extremely dangerous player. Normally, like, we don't achieve a deep level of concentration. We're distracted, you know, somebody coughing or making noise. I mean, I'm talking about tournament games, obviously. So when you're in a deep level of concentration, nothing, you know, you're like almost like in a sleep state. I mean, in a dream state, you can not be distracted by anything around you. It's sort of the zone. You know, people talk about the zone. So if you can get in the zone and really concentrate deeply, that's where you want to be, and that's why it might be worthwhile to kind of sort of meditate for a couple minutes before your first move. Do you prefer black or white? Well, I mean, yeah, I guess I have to prefer white, but I'm not really an opening-centric player. I'm also a good defender and a good counterattacker, so I think compared to most players my level, I probably have a better score with black and a worse score with white than most people. My score between like lifetime with white and black is probably closer than most strong players around my rating. Number one, because I'm not really an opening specialist. It doesn't really matter that much which color I am. And number two, I'm kind of a counter-attacking player, so playing black can be better for me. I like when people try to come and get me, basically. Bishop g5 is a really neat solution here. He realized that I have a lot of play after like pawn takes pawn, so he played bishop g5, introducing a kind of gambit theme. Developing quickly. That's an incredibly good idea. All right. Well, e6 is the obvious move. We're down to 2 minutes to 1 minute already, and it's only move 8. How did that happen? This is one of the only opponents who thinks more than me. Man, how did we use 7 minutes, speaking of concentration, on the first 8 moves? Okay, another thing. Practical advice, if you are a player who uses a lot of time, I mean, it might be in your best interest to play kind of like mainline variations where you can sort of reel out like, or reel off like 20 moves very quickly. I talk about Alexander Ivanov a lot. He's a good example. Like if he plays the Zaitsev variation of the Lopez, or a time pressure oriented type of player is gonna like benefit from playing very long memorized variations. So I want to play bishop d6 here, but I'm a little worried about knight a3. So he's playing active piece development. Man, that's pretty tough. Looks like e5 is a threat. But knight a3 allows... Actually, he has pawn takes pawn here. This is just not a good move. Rook e1 is an excellent move. Man. Rook e1 is monstrous. Not what I wanted to see. This is an extremely strong move. Bishop g5 followed by rook e1. That is seriously brilliant. I'm not really happy to play bishop e7, but I didn't like bishop d6. I didn't like taking on c3, quickening his development. So it looks like white's better now. a3, that looks a little slow. It's starting to look like a more a gambit after that. Pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn, d6, knight b5, queen b8. Maybe I'll take my chances in the Mora Gambit here. He's in worse time pressure than me. Bishop takes f6, knight b5. Or pawn takes f6. Yeah, but here I have bishop takes b2. Oh no. Bishop e5. What am I supposed to play here? Bishop f6. It's gross. I'm lucky I'm not like losing a piece here. He has this move. It's really, really disturbing. But fortunately, at the end of the day, everything's okay. Now what? Bishop a6. He has a nasty surprise for me there. So I have to take. Man, finds this move. Bishop e4. Who finds that move in this position? With no time left? This is nasty. But I think we finally got it under control. Famous last words. Where are you going? Man, another trick. Extremely strong blitz player here with no time. This is what I'm talking about. He's very dangerous to the increment. So this was a mistake. He had a combination there which would have led to a rook ending where he was doing okay. So I thought he had seen it and had it planned out, but he didn't. A little groggy. So go back here, I thought that this was part of the plan. Don't you have knight takes e5 check here? No, rook takes c4 has to be played. Rook takes c4. But maybe at the last minute I have rook takes d3. Yeah, it doesn't work, okay. I didn't see the rook takes d4. I have rook takes c4, rook takes d3, rook takes c8, rook takes d1 check. I'm up 2 pawns in a rook ending. So earlier, white had good chances, but that doesn't work. 4-2 at Folier. Just donated. Wow. This is one of those channels that deserves it. Entertaining and high-quality content. Well, thank you. Thank you, Mate47, man. The first donation of 2017. I've got to get, like, Twitch updates or something to keep track of the donations that people, to kind of promote the donations that people make. I try to include everybody's name on my Twitch channel if they do make a donation. C4, I felt like doing something different today. Alright, I'm going to play e6. I've been playing a lot of King's Indians, but I have to have more than one defense. I don't think I have enough defenses to d4, actually. Against e4, I can play the Sicilian, the Caro-Kann, e4, e5, the modern defense. But against d4, I only play the King's Indian and the Nimzo Queen's Indian and the Blumenfeld. I don't really have like 3 defenses to d4. So sometimes I play the Benoni by transposition, or like modern defense, kind of you can play against everything. The English defense, you can only really play against c4. I feel like I need another defense to d4. I was talking about playing the Dutch, and I'm serious about it. But it's a lot to learn. I mean, it seems like the Dutch is one of those openings it takes a whole lifetime to learn, basically. Here, I'm really limited in my repertoire. I only really play, like, Bishop b4 check. I've played c5 sometimes. I have a bad score with it. I lost to Weird Al Yankovic and Igor Foigl. The only games I can really remember, I've played c5, I've lost. And even if white just transposes to the, well, those guys did transpose to the English. So I don't have a good score with that. We're going to go bishop e4 check. Try the old Benoni. The Benoni is something I have to play because I'm a King's Indian player, and I also play the modern defense, like variations of d4 and e4 g6. But if you look at my games, I have a pretty bad result in Benoni type positions. In King's Indian Benoni type positions, like main line type of lines, like in the Samish King's Indian and stuff, I do okay. But whenever I played like the modern defense and I've gotten transposed into more like traditional Benoni type positions, I don't really have a great score. I did study the Benoni a bit and intend to try to play it, and I do have some friends who are sort of expert in the Benoni, but it just doesn't rub off that easily. Alright, the old Benoni. We're going to play the old Benoni. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just randomly playing something here. Well, we can play d5. I mean, there's really nothing else to do. I will occasionally play the Catalan, like the closed Catalan with black. It's not very often, and I don't really like it that much. But one positive side of playing the closed Catalan is basically the fact that you don't trade any pieces. I found it's not a bad way of beating like players who are much weaker and not that dangerous, like maybe 2100 type players. I would occasionally play the black side of this type of Catalan. Now this doesn't look right for me. To me, something about white's position here. I would assume I can grab this pawn. It's not like a devastating blow, but I think that this should be fine for black. It looks like not that easy to get the pawn back. Okay, you get it back, but we have several options. C6 and B5. Like, what's up with that? C6, queen takes C4, B5. Nakamura does this all the time. When he's trying to think, he's like, he looks up in the sky, and or he makes the confused face. I love that. I love Hikaru's confused face. Queen A4, C6, queen takes C4, B5. Knight takes B5. C takes B. Queen takes B5 check. And then what do I do? It does seem like a problem. Bishop D7 and then like queen B7, and I'm losing my rook on A8. Well, anyway, we'll just go with our original intention was to play bishop D7. This was the original plan. It's not all that exciting, unfortunately. But it gets the job done. I mean, black equalizes here. There's no question about equality, I think. Now knight F3. I don't know why I expected you to exchange first and then play knight F3, but it's perfectly reasonable either way, I guess. This looks like a kind of standard position, but it's a little different because the bishop's on D2. Interesting. Yeah, it's dodgy, Sleepy Mario. It's very dodgy. I was just thinking, is there something there, something hidden? I'm not trapping his queen on A8. Wow, what a bizarre move. Knight A4. Dial in Ashat Nadanian. Where is he? The Nadanian variation. Knight A4. This move screams of neglecting the development. Trading pieces is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I have no qualms with that move. I have less space. I'm black. Trading pieces should ease the cramp in my position. I also get the open file for my rook there. Now, I was thinking about bishop b4 being the positional justification for this whole thing. You know, if he can play bishop b4, I mean, trading pieces is not really what white's supposed to do necessarily, but it is bad bishop for good bishop. You could try it. There may be a tactical problem with it. I don't know. If bishop d5, I can try to win the a-pawn or something. So now, yeah, we have all sorts of possibilities. Bishop d5. Rook a4. Rook a4. And we could try to win a pawn here. At what cost? I don't know. Rook a4 looks pretty precarious. Actually. Queen b3, queen a8, perhaps. Something along those lines. But there's also like rook a4, queen c2. What do I do after that? You know, am I just putting my rook on a stupid square, basically? I kind of have that feeling, you know? Sometimes we get a little too ambitious, and I think rook a4, it's a little early for that move. Maybe getting castled is a good idea. This way this rook won't hang with check in some lines, stuff like that. Again, we're 4 minutes behind the clock, but I think we have a deeper understanding of the position than our opponent by nature of the fact that we've been thinking and talking so much about this position. I feel like we have to have a deeper understanding of what's going on here. So there's the e4 square. We've got control of that. We've got control of d5. Everything looks good. Now rook a4 is a little more. Still queen c2. Bishop takes f3. Queen takes a4 is a problem. So I don't know. Bishop d5. Bishop d5. Catalan, you know, there's actually a sort of typical Catalan plan. Like bishop d5, bishop e4 sometimes. Maybe queen d5. We are on the a2 pawn. I want to use all my time, and I want to play. I've got a 3-second increment to live on after that. I'm not interested in getting my bishop trapped on a2, obviously. Just slightly improving the position of my pieces here. 4-2 at Folier's played well, though. Keeping a solid game. Typical Catalan. The backwardness on the c file, obviously I can play c6 and we're done with that problem. You could also be more ambitious and try to play c5 and just blow up his center altogether. But I don't think that's necessary. Might not be bad. I mean, queen d5 is okay. At least, other than the fact that it drops the c7 pawn, it would be good. All right, we have a very, very small sort of initiative, I want to say. I won't say advantage, because theoretically he has a pawn on d4 that I think makes him the table captain here, but you know, can he maintain that pawn, first of all? Could have some problems. Pawn sacrifices with b4 could happen. And other good stuff. Yes, I think that's necessary. Now rook a4 is starting to look more tempting. Rook a4. Looks like white's very tied up here. But again, I'm getting trapped. Not necessarily. Man, rook a4, what? b3? He seriously can play that? It's so irritating. Knight d5? I'm not really satisfied with this. You know, I wanted to play rook a4, but he had b3. Again, another guy with 5 minutes. I mean, why not think a little bit? You know, what's the object here? To win on time? Really? I mean, we could do a bullet. We could do a bullet stream if you guys would prefer. It's not really the point, though. Wow. I mean, I kind of like my game, but I don't know how to improve my position. I don't really know how to improve my position. Just gradually. It's like the ultimate Stonewall Dutch or something. I don't know. He's done a good job. .95. All right. He's going to be able to get my knight off of that square. I think I must have had something better. Bishop b4. Panic. You had e4 in that position, and I think that white is fine after e4. White's probably slightly better. Again, it's like playing for time. I don't understand why you're playing for time. And some people just get nervous, like they can never bear to be in time pressure. It's like, I feel like constant change is like that sometimes. He just can't bear to be in time pressure. That's why he plays so fast. So you can never be in time pressure. Fortuit Folie got kind of nervous. Alright, some people just get nervous. I mean, you are like playing on a stream with people watching and stuff, so maybe the spectating makes them sort of stressed out, but wait just, 4 minutes and drop your queen. Relax and take your time. Atatsuar is a tough player. We've played, as you can see, like numerous games with this opponent, and I think his score should be even better than it is. He's got 4 points off of me, but I feel like I've been fortunate to get that many. I'm listening too, but I do have the understanding. You do have the understanding. I like the Troll's approach, though. I mean, he's a player who takes his time, and he doesn't mind losing on time. But I think he's learning from the games, and that's the point. I mean, we've got to take something away every time we play a game. Otherwise, what's the point, right? I mean, if we're playing for money, it would be a different story, but we need to get something tangible. Otherwise, we're wasting our time. Whether it's like improved understanding of the game, winning a tournament, improving our rating. I mean, we need, every game should derive some benefit from that. I think just playing super fast is, well, a lot of people are playing like bullet here constantly, and then they join the stream, and then they're not able to change speeds, I think. This is one issue. If you can't change the speed you're playing, it's hard to adjust. Sometimes you're playing 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, and then suddenly you're playing like a 7-minute game. I mean, it's pretty hard to change speeds. Let's play f4 against the Najdorf. Josh Friedel. John Nunn recommended this pretty heavily in some old, like, Beating the Sicilians books. He's the only, like, top player who I think, or author who, like, seriously advocated f4 a lot, but it's a line that's not real trendy, but I think it's quite interesting and not a bad attacking system. And I find that it's good because most people don't really, players here, I mean, not talking about like Igor Novikov or Boris Gelfand or something. Most players, like average players, aren't really well prepared for f4. Okay, so a Tatsuar transposed to Scheveningen type position here. I'm going to try to play aggressively. Try to play aggressively. E5 is obviously another option. Also G6. Even though I had the stream muted, I feel like I could hear me talking bad about Bogo or Nimzo Indian. You need to get something tangible, otherwise we're wasting our time, dude. I mean, we can argue about what tangible means. If you want to have a philosophical argument, I mean, I'm not sure that like an improved understanding of the Nimzo is, a tangible thing, but maybe. If you don't know what tangible means, don't worry about it. It's not important. Queen f3. Wow, that's really... poison pawn style, huh? Doesn't leave me with a lot of options. Bishop e3, I don't think I can do that here. This looks pretty much forced. But there's no bishop on g5. Keep in mind. This is not the poison pawn variation, as much as it might appear to be. This is not the poison pawn. Your queen on b6 did drive my knight away from the center, so he did achieve something tangible. I used to play queen b6 Sicilians. My results were kind of mixed. Was that Greek grandmaster who wrote a book about it? I have a game or two in his book. Many philosophers would disagree. I'm sure they would. Is tangible fun? I don't think it's fun tangible, excuse me. Is tangible fun? Is fun tangible? Probably not. Though we really get into a philosophical argument. To call Jesse Cry, my old U.S. Championship roommate, doctorate of philosophy and grandmaster, into the discussion. Not too many grandmasters who are doctors of philosophy. Knight on bd7. Well, queen on b6 looks to me like it's got a drawback in the fact that it's blocking your b pawn. It's also like liable to be attacked at any moment. So here we have a choice. We can play a game of like trying to restrict him on the queen side with a4, a5. I'm not sure how effective that is in this position, honestly. I'd like that better if his knight was like on c6, blocking the play along the c file, and there's no knight c5 and stuff like that. There's also g4 going totally postal, which I think is definitely a consideration here. Maybe sacks a pawn with g5, like g4, g5. I don't think he can do that, actually. Okay, so g4, h6. g4, h6. I like this. This feels really... right, somehow. I don't know. This queen on b6 looks suspicious to me. His development's slow. I'm ready to blow him away. g5 doesn't work. What else do we have going for us here? H6. Yeah, this is like another tribute to Emery Tate. He would enjoy this. Okay, so now the game doesn't win itself. Obviously, white has a large advantage, but how do you put the man away? Trying to blow him away with f5. He gets the e5 square there, and I feel like that's a little bit reason to have second thoughts about playing f5. A4 looks ridiculous to play A4 here, really. I mean, with this big kingside attack I'm trying to do, now I'm going to like play A4. Doesn't seem right. F5. He's going to play B5 here at some point. Bishop G2 maybe. Where am I going to put my king? King side, queen side. I'm not sure what I should do. Bishop G2, Bishop D3, Bishop E3. There's all kinds of possibilities here. But F5, maybe F5. I should have done F5. And if Knight E5, Queen F4. It seems kind of strange, but what's the big deal? Is he threatening B4? I don't really want to allow B4. We'll take a moment for defensive measure. I mean, white has to be better here. There's just no question. There is no question. But we're not going to blow him away directly, it appears. I mean, maybe F5, if we can get it in. I wanted to get castled first, before we take some kind of decisive action, but this bishop doesn't have to move necessarily. I was a little worried about knight b6, knight c4. If I try to play, you know, routine development with bishop e3, I might be just walking into this. So that looks like the right idea. Stopping f5. And then moving my queen maybe at some point here. Queen h3. Getting off the diagonal, putting pressure on e6, supporting f5, pinning his pawn to his rook. If he tries to do h6, it's pinned. The game, you know, the onus is on black here. What would you like to do, sir? Because I feel like my development is nearly decisively superior to black. Nearly. I'm not saying it's winning, but close to winning. I don't know. Queen h3. Still black has chances. This position looks really rickety. And maybe he's okay here. Jeez. He stopped f5. What else am I supposed to do? Routine development. Bishop e3. Seems like it should be overwhelming for white, this position, but I don't know. I don't know how to break through. There it is. Best move. Maybe I sack the exchange or something. f5. Take, take. Bishop takes g2. Queen takes g2. Actually, f5. Take, take, take. Knight takes f5. Rook takes f5. Pawn takes f5. We have quite interesting exchange sacrifice. I don't know. Maybe this is not enough, but get the d5 square. I don't have to sacrifice the exchange. Maybe I can just play something else. But honestly, I thought I have a very good game here. We should have compensation. I mean, without any discussion. But maybe it's not enough for an advantage, and black has counter chances. I don't know. Knight on b3 is pretty lame. We have a limited amount of time to do something, and I just thought we'll go for it. Looks like an aggressive try for white. Queen takes c2. What? You can do that. Defending everything. Kidding me. Man, dude. Just have to sacrifice everything. I didn't see this. I guess it's not enough for white. Active pieces, but I guess subjectively I don't have enough compensation to be down the exchange and a pawn. Or whatever, rook b8. Wow. What is going on here? Whoa. Oh, he missed the point. Man. So you could defend there. I mean, it's got to be bishop takes d5. Maybe bishop takes d5. Bishop a5 check, knight b6. Bishop takes d5. I don't think I have enough here. Just very lucky. I don't think this was fully sound at all for white. Okay, guys, we have time for like 2 more games. That was a bit of a bluff. I did not see queen takes c2 was possible. All right, let's try d4. Is this game correct? 6-4. Okay, thank you for changing your time control. I know it was like 6-7 before. That was an f4 Najdorf, but I don't really think I played it. I'm not sure the exchange sacrifice with f5 was sound. It just seemed like there was no other way like forward. So I wanted to do something aggressive. We both had like a minute left, so. QKIQ from, well, speaking Bulgarian. I don't know if he's here. If he's not here, we'll give him like 45 seconds. If he's not here, we'll play the next challenger. Cracked in time pressure. It looked a little dangerous. All right, he is here. So we've got a Queen's Gambit. I like to play different stuff, guys. When I'm white, pretty much every normal opening move. d4, e4, c4, knight f3, g3. So this is an interesting move. Knight f6, the so-called Marshall defense. Frank Marshall, like one of the most famous American players in history. He's famous for a lot of inventions in the opening, actually. Of course, the most notable is the Marshall Gambit in the Spanish or Roy Lopez, but this is one of his lesser-known namesakes. And a lot of people play e4 here. It's not a bad move, but after e4, knight f6, knight c3, black has e5, which is one of Marshall's tricks, so that's not so bad for black. After e4, knight f6, e5, knight d5, that's probably white's best, and it leads to a position that's like, it's actually a Queen's Gambit accepted, except the pawn has disappeared from c4. Normally we'd have that position with the pawn on c4, white needs to capture on c4. But after e4, knight f6, e5, knight d5, white has a Queen's Gambit accepted like position where he doesn't necessarily have to play bishop takes c4. So it's like a slightly better version of the Queen's Gambit accepted, but it's not my favorite kind of structure, so I prefer to play knight f3. This is the move that was always recommended in the chess encyclopedia. Objectively, it's hard to say if it's better than e4, but I find that there are more ways for black to go wrong. The best move there is probably bishop f5, and I've had some discussions about knight d2 in that position. So, as the late Dr. Danny Kopeck, who passed away, we lost a lot of chess players. I forgot to mention Danny Kopeck in 2016. Emery Tate, well, a lot of American chess players anyway. Dr. Danny, he played knight f6. No, he played bishop f5 against me, and after knight bd2, he played knight f6, queen b3, queen c8. I didn't really get anything, but this isn't good. e6 is passive; it blocks in the bishop on c8. So white has a clear advantage after e6. Maybe it's not that bad. But I think you must play bishop b4 check in that position. And after bishop b4 check, knight d2, yeah, actually, knight b6 is forced. No. And bishop b4 check looks like a good try, actually. Trying to trade some pieces, and that's why I should play knight d2. What else can I do after knight to d5? Yeah, if we look at this position, this check, I don't really want to trade all the pieces off, but okay, it's possible to play bishop d2. Don't think it's quite as good here, this bishop e4. He's in a dangerous situation. I mean, he's playing the Vienna variation like a tempo down or something. That looks almost like fatal, but not quite. Something like the Vienna variation. Bishop g5. I don't know. I think we should just keep the center. This is kind of awkward. What would Leching do here? We have so many choices. I mean, e5, bishop d3. Bishop g5. I don't really like bishop g5. Queen a4 check doesn't work because of knight to c6, defending his bishop. And then I don't have a win after that. Bishop g5 is interesting. Still doesn't work. I guess I should just play like bishop d3. It should be very good for white. Okay guys, last two games. We'll be back tomorrow. It's a special day. On Wednesdays I do a stream where I'm playing unusual openings. I call it Weird Wednesday. So I'm playing stuff I would never normally play. The Dutch defense, the Birds opening, 1a3, the King's Gambit, other fun gambits and stuff. So tune in tomorrow for my non-standard opening repertoire. Knight c6 now. Okay, this is good. This pawn is a piece that would like to influence the center. I was actually mostly concerned about c5, but I thought if c5 maybe a3 might be okay for white. So knight c6 though, he's not threatening anything here. First off, it looks like an inferior Chigorin defense for black. He'd sip some vodka and play a good move. But he was very incisive in the opening. That's the beauty of the world champion, Alexander Alekhine. He played like, you know, the pieces just knew where to go. You know, he would always find the most aggressive and most incisive way of developing. And he was brutal against weaker players. Particularly brutal at just dismantling like weaker masters. So many crushing games he played. It's just ridiculous. He did play e4, but he became more of a d4 player. Somewhat tactical style, but positionally based. I loved games where he would, you know, studying his games against players where they would play substandard openings. You know, QK dropping a piece here. So I never, you know, there is the saying like never look a gift horse in the mouth, but if a strong player offers you material, you really, really have to be asking yourself, you know, why is this master offering me free candy in this position? It's just good practical advice. Always be very, very reticent when a strong player is offering you a pawn or a piece or any kind of material. I don't give free central pawns. He offered a take back. Like, we have to kind of move it along here, so I'm going to give him one take back, but that's it. You're going to get your last take back today. I'm going to be friendly. It's a lot of take backs, actually, so no more take backs. They're moaning in the audience. We're going to play one more game no matter what, though. So nobody's going to get cheated out of a game by nature of me giving this guy a series of take backs. He's not going to last too much longer here, though. This position is fatal. Black is lost here. It's not just bad, you know. I think this position is lost for black. It's not a question of... Okay, bishop takes c3 wasn't a great move either, but black doesn't really have a good move. Once he puts the knight on c6, I feel like it's a bad Chigorin. Best would be, I don't know what to recommend. h6 to stop bishop g5. Something like h6 to stop bishop g5, I guess. This is lost. Been here, done this before. Yes. It's like a two knights defense. No, I mean, four knights game. e5, bishop takes h7 was winning. I had e5. Yeah, that's another possibility. It wins. Thank you. This wins. This is more fun, though. Actually, I don't know which one is more fun. My move wins too. So, I think that we're slicing, you know, apples and oranges. It's a matter of which way you want to kill him, you know. The like quick and painless way, or the slow and painful way. I'm using the slow and painful method. You wanted to do the quick and painless, but this is more nasty. I mean, I really wanted to see like g5, knight takes g5, h takes g5, bishop takes g5 with e5, f4, totally game over. Yeah, that's same thing, more or less. So it's really, you know, half a dozen of this, 6 of the other. But you're good to point out e5. I didn't actually calculate it. I saw one good line and I went with it, but this is also more direct. I think your move is more direct. I should have at least acknowledged it. And now, for our next trick. Difficult to answer. Sure if he can... I mean, I'm sure there's more than one winning move for white, but there's obviously no defense here. Okay, guys, we have time for one more game. My friend Nela Jobuta is here. Don't be stupid. That's his name in Hungarian. I don't know if he's watching or he's just playing on his own. We have time for one more challenge, unless that's super short or something. There's a super short game. We might get another game, but there it is, made in one. Queen h7. Didn't let me play it. You resigned first. All right, one question IQ test. I'm sorry that Sabatny and Polish Namer are not going to get to play, most likely. Assuming this guy's been pretty tough. I did win both games against him, but well, this game wasn't so tough. He did play tough actually, and then made a terrible blunder. And then the second game, he hangs tough. I'm not expecting a quick victory here. All right, knight f3. Catapus. I hope it was quite educating for Mr. QCI. It's usually pretty educating when that happens to you. I know it would be for me. You've got to get your pieces out. He neglected the center. The martial defense is a very risky thing to play, and it's barely playable with best moves. But a lot of people, like amateurs, ignore it. You know, when black plays like d4, d5, c4, knight f6, I see a lot of people just go like knight to c3. I mean, this opening can almost be refuted. It's nearly refutable. One question IQ says, I think I played this against him or somebody the other day, and it was funny. I mean, I faced knight on bd7, I think, and I played bishop e2, and then I was like, oh man, I played so stupidly. Actually, there's shockingly few games in the database in this position, and it turns out that my move, like bishop e2, bishop e7, f3, I was like, oh, we had a game here. This position, this was the same line. I was saying that I made a mistake. I played bishop e2, f3, castles. Apparently, it's not bad for white. Some strong players have played like that, but I much prefer bishop d3. This is more in keeping with the way I normally play in the Con Sicilian. Bishop is a bad piece, but it's a good defender. I mean, it's a bad piece offensively. It's blocked by these pawns, but it's obviously a very, very good defender. There are some lines in the Con Sicilian. This could also be, as we have here in English, opening move order. I looked in the lichess opening reference, whatever it's called, and surprisingly, there's like very few games in this position. I would think there'd be quite a few. Bishop g5 is one possibility. I like it. It's not the only way to play, though. We could play b3 and bishop b2. You have to be aware of tactics, like knight takes e4. One question IQ test. He's playing this very fast, again. And it was the same thing last time. I think he also is one of these guys who plays very fast. Pretty rare opening to play, to know, and play very quickly. But I like the setup for white better. He's trying to do some kind of hedgehog type of thing. I'm not sure. It's as effective here. Like with my bishop on e2 is a different story. So what does he want to play? Like queen c7 he can't play because of... Well, he could play it, I guess. Rook c1. None of these tactics work because of bishop takes e4. On knight e5 instantaneously played. Doesn't threaten anything. Doesn't develop anything. He's asking for f4. But maybe we should just play a straight up development here. Bishop pair is overrated. One of the #1 themes I've noticed. This is actually reasonable the way he's playing. But I don't mind trading my bishop for the knight. This is a bad bishop. I should have knight b5 here. Some kind of advantage. Maybe at the end of the day, he he gets my c4 pawn, and then he's okay. Knight b5. I feel like black should have some problems here. Again, it doesn't use any time. I mean, you're playing a stronger player, and you need to take your time. Why did black not play a6 last move? The typical hedgehog move, stopping me from coming into b5. I would play this 100% of the time. I mean, he slightly weakens his queen side, but that's part and parcel for this kind of position. Now there may be some problems for black. Guys, I want to thank you all for joining me. We'll be back tomorrow with Weird Wednesday. We're going to be playing unusual openings, gambits, King's Gambit, and the like. So here, the trick is that I think knight takes d6, bishop takes d6, queen takes d6, queen takes d6, rook takes d6, rook takes c4. Actually, that might be good for me too. Take everything, but there he has maybe knight takes e4 at the end. Actually, maybe I have more than one way to get an advantage. I mean, knight takes d6, bishop takes, queen takes, trade everything. Play knight takes e4, knight takes e4, bishop takes e4, rook takes e4, b6, hanging, and I'm up a pawn with the queen side majority 3-on-2. I looked at bishop takes f6, which looked good, but this might be better. Trade everything, and then he takes on c4 again. I take on b6. There is a problem there, though. He takes on c4. I take on f6. Take on b6. Take on a6. This should be good enough. All right. My original plan was to play bishop takes f6, but I think in retrospect, I prefer this. If I haven't miscalculated something, I think this ending is good for white. I probably miscalculated something, though. Chances are I did. Yes. Maybe not. No, it's not clear. There are some variations. The other variations I didn't mention may not make it that easy, but I'm also threatening e5. Queen takes rook and e5. This could be very technical. Yeah, if he loses both these pawns, I'm in good shape in any kind of endgame. I really thought that it's possible he can play rook takes c4 there. Let me take on d8, play e5, and then play h6. That was a real possibility. That might be his best line. Actually take on c4 directly. And then I take on d8, rook takes d8, e5, h6. That's a problem for me. Black's pieces are very active there. Now not so much. So rook takes c4. Maybe I should just keep the position with like f3 and have some kind of advantage, but what am I talking about? No, he's dropping a queen there. Never mind. I'm sorry, guys. I'm analyzing something that's just not even possible. He's just losing a queen. Never mind. He could play h6 directly. That would be the only other possibility. And never mind. Okay, it doesn't work. Okay, I'm having crazy hallucinations. Now what? Bishop takes f6 or rook takes b6? Does it matter? Yeah, I think try to keep this simple as possible. We managed to win a pawn. Hopefully we can convert. I was right about this not being an easy game. No way to win a piece, it appears. This was the vital key point. Vital and key. Two connected pass pawns on the queen side. Still not an easy win because his bishop is a long-range piece. Third game, it wasn't so easy. Okay, rook d8. Friendly neighborhood back rank checkmate in the offing. Okay, first of all, I really don't want to get back rank checkmated. I'm not kidding. So that's not cool. There are some technical difficulties here. Where should this bishop go? Okay, so he commits to that. The other possibility was bishop g6. I don't know why I was thinking that might be a good move. And now rook c2. Even rook d1 is possible. I better make a decision quickly. He has some counterplay, admittedly. My a-pawn is loose. On the loose, I should say. Okay, now I think it's clear that white is winning. He should trade rooks and maybe try to put king g7 and try to get a rook active on the 7th. Something like that. I don't think that black has enough play here to justify being down a pawn. We can win a pawn. Rook takes e6. Not one to resign. We know that. See. Awkward situation. Okay, let's not lose on time here. Let's not be the one to lose on time up several pawns. I just want to keep all the open files, under control. Wow, that is weird. Pinned himself. It's likely fatal. He's in a total panic mode. All right, I think he's not going to resign, but so we were lucky. If we look at the analysis board quickly here for this last game, interested what was going on. I mean, I think he got out of the opening okay. There are some games that have the wrong database here. Let's go to Masters. Who reset that? All right, no games found. Wow. We got one Margir Icelandic Championship 1980, Icelandic Junior Championship. Margir Peterson versus Olafsson Helgi. Played blitz with the huge pieces with me. He has these massive pieces. It's just unbelievable. Icelandic Viking size blitz set. All right, 95. We went off of, we varied from Peterson versus Helgi Olafsson here. Where did that game go? Castles. Oh, rook c8. Okay, yeah, I mean, I think rook c8 is kind of early myself. You know, I think castles are a6, and he played rook c8. So we're in new territory here, and the computer thinks I'm a little bit better, but yeah, this is the blunder. I mean, you need to play a6. You have a playable position. But castling knight b5, and he's in trouble. And now, I should have taken on f6. I was right. This was even stronger than knight takes d6. Knight takes d6. Maybe h6 I was thinking here. Now, this is best. All right. Yeah, it's a difficult position. But still, maybe black can hang on somehow. Rook d8, bishop g6, rook b8. It's not easy, but this did have some points. Bishop g6. Anyway, guys, looks like there was a point where he was in the game again. Right here, I made a bad move. Right, so this was actually a bad mistake to play rook d1. Rook takes d1 you had, and I don't understand why it's such a big deal, but I have rook b8 check, so I thought king g7. Rook c1. I see, so this ending the computer thinks isn't that bad for black. Oh, because he's winning a second pawn. I missed this. Okay, nice. So you're winning a second pawn and probably drawing the game there. Nice. I didn't see rook d1, rook d2 check and take on b2. So anyway, guys, we'll be back tomorrow. Weird Wednesday. It's going to be blitz and classical chess with unusual openings. I'd like to thank everybody for joining me and for any donations you guys made via PayPal for 2017. Please, if you can afford it over the course of the year, donate $5 or $10 or whatever. It's really, really appreciated, and hopefully I can continue to stream and create videos for YouTube and keep it up. So keep the chess going for 2017. We will be back tomorrow. I'd like to thank you guys for joining me. And again, if you're interested in private lessons, I'm available. So send me an email, videochesstrainer@gmail.com. Otherwise, guys, I enjoyed it. We'll be back tomorrow with some fun and unusual openings. Bye-bye.